OK, well, Vernon, Labour MPs gave your leader a bit of a stormy reception at this week's parliamentary meeting, didn't they?
Well, there was a frank exchange of views, I think it's fair to say.
Were you there?
I was there, and there was a frank exchange of views, but it also has to be said that whatever else anybody says, there was also a great celebration around the fact that we beat the Brexit Party, beat the Conservative Party in the Peterborough by-election. Of course, everybody wrote us off there, but we won that by standing up for what we believed. And going back to Boris, I mean, he's not a showbiz personality. We're talking about somebody who theoretically could be the next Prime Minister of the country. And what people in the end, when they get beyond his hair and beyond all the showbiz and all of that,
let's not get too personal here, Vernon.
He does it himself. He goes around sort of, but they'll get to ask, what is he going to say about schools? What's he going to do about health? What's he going to do about jobs? And of course, the no-deal Brexit that he said he'll go for if all else fails. And that's what people in the end will want to know about.
And he's got a point, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think people want to...
Well, the Minister, Andrew Stevenson, speaking at the end there, also said that the trustees of the fund were looking at 6 different proposals for the future, but made no guarantees about the miners' share going up. And despite the House calling for a fresh review, said at the moment that it wasn't necessary. Vernon Coker, isn't it a fair point for the government to say here that they have to think about taxpayers? The miners' fund is in surplus at the moment, but if it gets into trouble, they'd be responsible for paying the pensions of 150,000 former miners.
But since 1994, the government have actually taken £4.4 billion out of the miners' pension fund. And so it's a question, as you say, of fairness. And given that level of surplus, and also given the fact that we now find out that many widows of miners, people who actually contributed or their husbands contributed into the fund, that many of them are actually now existing on £8.50 a week. That's why the House was united there, right across the House, people demanding. And the key question now is whether the government are going to listen to what miners' widows and miners' unions and mining communities, or former mining communities, and indeed MPs across the House. And that's the challenge for the government now. Are you going to listen to the express will of Parliament and act on it?
And Nigel Mills, what do you say? OK, Vernon, the government would also argue on this that because it backs the scheme, it can make investments with confidence, and payments are 33% higher than they would have been otherwise.
But it is a question, as I say, of fairness, the money that's come out of it. And I think, look, the question is now, what are the government going to do? It's the expressed will of Parliament, and it was asked actually at the end of the debate of the Speaker, did this now mean, because Parliament had said the government should change it, the Speaker said no, it was just an expression of the view of Parliament. Well, I think the government should listen to what Parliament says. United across the House, saying the mining community, the former mining communities and the miners and their families of this country deserve better. And they should be paid what they deserve, and they should get a better deal out of the miners' fund into which they pay.
I mean, I asked Nigel...
and really working for those solutions.
OK, well, local people seem to understand the process, don't they? Because they're voting for independence. Labour was roundly defeated in Ashfield, Vernon. I mean, most of the independents won large majorities. So is any place you might have regarded as a Labour stronghold actually now safe?
Well, yeah, indeed. But it's superficially attractive what Marianne's saying about independence. We'll stand up for the community. We'll represent everybody's interests.
That sounds like a good thing, doesn't it?
Well, but in the end, there's decisions that have to be made. And sooner or later, those decisions actually mean you have to make choices between one thing or the other.
So can you not make decisions, Marianne?
Absolutely, you can make decisions. And if you imagine a successful business or a successful charity, you wouldn't be able to say, oh, well, you're wearing the wrong clothes today, you're wearing the wrong colour. In that case, you must therefore work together to make a better... You have to be able to make a better solution. And certainly make decisions, but you don't sideline someone because of their particular colour.
But are you in favour of grammar schools in Lincolnshire?
Is this relevant?
Yeah, just because it's a decision you have to make.
Because you're asking her to spell out her policies on certain issues.
In the end, you have to make decisions on what policies you think are right.
How do we make a decision? So even if they don't disagree...
Can I just ask one thing? What about the
see how it came to it.
Marianne, what about the Mansfield independents who got elected and then, as soon as they got elected, went into coalition to keep a Conservative authority in Nottinghamshire in power?
The thing
that's
about
not an independent, is it?
What you're saying,
what
you're misunderstanding is the difference between independence and isolation.
No, it's Mansfield independence.
Independents can work together, and they can work
together with the Conservatives.
Do you want to let me finish?
And with Labour and Bolsover.
And they can work with people of other groups as well.
Which they are doing. You know, these independents are tapping into a feeling among the voting public out there that your parties don't represent their views. Maybe they feel that you're not listening to them.
I think what Marianne and the independents tap into, and people more generally, is sometimes an anti-politics mood, that we're out of touch and that we don't listen. And that's a fair point to make, that we all should listen, and maybe the independents tap into that. My point is that in the end, decisions have to be made, and that's when independents, as well as everybody else, hits the reality of the political choices that are in front of people.
OK, well, let's bring in our...
He's the leader of Change UK, and Chuka
Lost
Umunna has
Chuka
gone to the
Umunna, yes,
Liberal Democrats.
exactly.
So
yes.
a
She's
bit of
not
praise,
very happy
but
about
not
that.
too much praise there.
Okay.
I don't know. Not yet.
What you're saying, is she an independent?
No, Nigel was saying, is she a Lib Dem yet? And,
no, she's not.
What she actually said to me last week, she said, I asked her why she wasn't joining the Liberal Democrats, and she says, I'm not a Liberal Democrat.
At time of recording, that's what she's told us. Yes, absolutely.
Next, on to the Conservative leadership contest, and this was quite a funny tweet, actually. Just before the end of polling for Conservative MPs, Rory Stewart's team were hunting high and low in the Palace of Westminster for Ken Clarke, who hadn't turned up to vote, and he was backing Rory Stewart, and they say he didn't own a mobile phone, and how are they going to get hold of him? So eventually he did turn up, and he did vote, because he was one of Rory Stewart's
So he did
backers.
vote for Rory Stewart.
He did vote
Does
for Rory
he have
Stewart.
a mobile phone?
I've seen him actually with a mobile phone.
Oh, you've seen him with one as well,
I
have
don't know
you?
what the number is, but I've seen it.
Maybe that's the problem. Nobody's got his number.
Whether he can use it, I don't...
It's not a